Good morning. Today's topic is environmental value systems, and I've mentioned it once before, but if we're going to enact environmental change, if I'm going to propose laws, if I'm going to try and convince someone to do something to make the environment a better place, I really need to understand their background. I need to understand their politics. I need to understand their religion. I need to understand what their feelings on the environment are. So when I propose a solution, I propose a solution that is favorable to them. Because if everything I tell them to do, they go, oh no, I can't do that. That doesn't fit into my thinking. It doesn't fit into my values. They're never going to do it. We have to come at people from an area of understanding. And that's what environmental value systems allow us to do. So what is environmental science? Environmental science is the study of the interaction between humans and their environment. So everything we talk about this year, we're going to talk about how do humans impact that? How are we adapting the earth to our needs, and how are we adapting to the earth, essentially? The environment includes all of the conditions surrounding an organism. So abiotic, those things that aren't living, like climate and water and soil, and biotic, those things that are living, like the animals and the plants and the bacteria. So I usually start this with a little bit of agree, disagree, and don't know, and we'd move around the classroom, but obviously, you know, we're at home. If you want to move around your bedroom, you can designate one wall something. If not, just in your mind, think about where do you stand on these statements. So our first statement, humans are part of nature. So do you agree with that, disagree, or do you have questions? One of the questions that comes up every year, well, define nature. By the way, no right or wrong answer here. And if we were doing it in class, you would see that everyone's got differing opinions. This is where, as we start to go through, you guys are defining your own environmental values. Humans are to blame for all of the world's problems. The key term in there is all. Do you believe that we are to blame for all of the world's environmental problems? We depend on the environment for our resources: wood, fuel, water. Nomadic and indigenous people live in balance with their environment. An indigenous person is a person that has been in that environment for thousands of years. Think about Native Americans. We consider those indigenous people, or Aboriginals in Australia are indigenous people. Traditional farming methods don't damage the environment. When I say a traditional farming method, I think about how we farmed during pioneer days with an ox and a plow. Nature will make good any damage that humans do to the environment. So whatever we do, nature can repair. Humans have every right to use all of the resources on the planet. Everything's fair game. Technology will solve our energy crisis. So you know we are running short of oil. It's our main source of energy. And the statement here is that technology will solve that problem for us. We have passed the tipping point on climate change, and the earth is warming up, and we can't stop it. Animals and plants have as much right to live on the earth as humans. Looking at a beautiful view is not as important as economic progress. Economic progress. How much money can I put in my pocket? Species have always become extinct on Earth, and so it does not matter that humans are causing it. Historically, we've had extinction, and so it doesn't matter that humans are causing extinction right now. Okay, so what is an environmental value system? Different societies have different environmental philosophies. These are understandings that help them regulate policy choices of their country. It's often influenced by cultural So a cultural influence here would be like India, and they don't eat cows, they worship them. That's a cultural thing. Religious, and we're going to talk about the difference between Christianity and Islam and Buddhism. Economic, how much value do we place in how much money you have? Here, there's going to be a big difference between a communist country and a capitalist country. And then socio-political context. Are you a Democrat or a Republican? The environment can have its own intrinsic value, regardless of its value to mankind. That statement just says that nature has value as nature. That tree has value as a tree, not just as a tree that's going to give us oxygen and wood. It has value as a tree. Okay, theory of knowledge moment here. What do the following words mean to you? Environment, natural, nature. Is there a difference between the three words? That's for you to think about. All right, lots of vocab coming at you, especially if you're an IB student. All of these vocab words are important. We need to understand both science and environmental value systems in order to solve environmental problems. We need to understand scientific data and its implications, and we need to use the precautionary principle. And we have to look at the justifications that people have for valuing the environment. So utilitarian, this is the idea that the environment gives us survival and it has economic value. So I can cut down that tree and I can make a house, and then I can sell that house and I can make money. Ecological, different individual species and systems have their own intrinsic value and we have to protect that. Aesthetic, the beauty of nature. Ecotourism is based on the aesthetic value here. Recreation, which means I'm going to go out and I'm going to use that system. I'm going to go out into the forest and I'm going to climb trees. I'm going to climb mountains. I'm going to jet ski in the ocean. Inspirational, the idea that Earth is a temple, and we see that a lot in Eastern kind of philosophies. The creative value, that we can gain inspiration from nature for art and for music. The moral idea, right versus wrong. If you see someone kill a rabbit, what's the morality in that and the value of that rabbit? And then just cultural. Different cultures value the environment differently, and we have to respect that. Okay, here's our big categories. Ecocentric with 2 C's. It says that ecology and nature is central to humanity, that we have to have nature and ecology or we don't have humanity. We don't have kindness or anything. These value systems, the people that hold them, are less materialistic and more self-sufficient. They respect the right of nature and the dependence of human on nature. We know that I need nature in order to survive, and therefore I'm going to value nature for what it can give me and for my survival. And if I harm nature, I'm not going to be able to survive. Anthropogenic or procentic, humans must sustainably manage the global system. That there is a human at the center of this, and we are going to control all of nature. And if we control it properly, we can maintain it and have nature for all of the aesthetic and ecological and economic reasons. When we use this philosophy, we utilize taxes and laws and regulations to maintain it. So you go hiking in the forest, if I'm anthropocenic, that means that there are certain rules you have to follow. And if you don't follow those rules, I'm going to fine you. I'm going to throw you in jail. I'm going to charge you an entrance fee to go into the park, because humans are controlling the environment. Nature is there to benefit mankind, whether it benefits mankind through ecotourism or through cultural or through creative or through economic. Nature is there for man, and man is controlling nature. Technocentric, technological and technology can solve environmental problems. And so we run out of oil, it's okay, I can make solar panels. So we're going to use technology to solve any environmental problem that comes up. Cornucopians. These guys believe that the world has an infinite amount of resources there to benefit mankind. It's all right if I use all of the salmon. There will be a different kind of fish, because there is always fish out there that humans can use. Through technology and inventiveness, we can solve all of the world's problems. Capitalism is best, and we shouldn't have a lot of regulation. We shouldn't have a lot of laws. We shouldn't have a lot of taxes. And I'm going to utilize nature in order to make a ton of money. Earth is a ship and humans are the captains. We control the earth again. Environmental managers, it's a stewardship worldview. We must tend to the garden that is the earth. And so we're not necessarily tending to the garden so that we can capitalize from it, so that we can gain from it. We're tending to the garden that is earth so that it can continue to flourish. We are going to use the government and laws and taxes to protect the earth. Ecocentric with one C. The views above are too simplistic. Look, we don't know enough about Earth to form an opinion. I shouldn't mess with things that I really don't know about. There's no way for everyone to get the same standard of living with the environment we have. I think that's a really true statement, right? We have the haves and the have-nots. And if we gave every one of the almost 7 billion people on the planet what the haves have, we would run out of resources very quickly. Biocentric, preserve ecological integrity and complexity, and all of life will thrive. We have an ethical responsibility to the environment, that there is a moral responsibility to do what's right for the environment. Earth is for all species, not just humans. There are limited resources, and we should manage the human population growth. We're going to work with the earth and not against it, and we need the earth more than it needs us. Think about that last statement. If all of the humans on earth were to die tomorrow, there would still be nature. So we need the earth more than it needs us. If everything else but humans on earth die tomorrow, we're done for. Deep ecologists value nature more than humans. These are the tree huggers, right? The people that are going to say, look, I don't care if you're going to starve to death, you can't kill Bambi. The goal is to decrease human population and our impact on nature. And they'd probably be really happy if this pandemic kind of cut human population in half, because it's not about the humans, it's about the environment. Okay, some environmental worldviews. We can look at this great experiment that was Germany. We took the city of Berlin and we cut it in half. And half was Western Germany and half was Eastern Germany. Western Germany was capitalist and Eastern Germany was communist. In communism, there's very little regulation of pollution and really old technology. So all the cars were old, all the factories were old, and so they polluted really heavily. But there was some understanding of the impact of that pollution. And during peak growing times, they would actually shutter the factories to limit the pollution to ensure that the crops would grow. Capitalism has regulations on pollution. We're not allowed to pollute a lot. We have newer technology. So as technology gets better, the amount of pollution released gets less. But we had greater consumption of our resources. We didn't really manage it. We didn't go with the seasons like communism. Native Americans have a very interesting environmental worldview. It's communal property. It tends to be nomadic. It's subsistence living, which means you only kill that deer if your family needs that deer to survive, and then you utilize every part of that deer. Plants, animals, and natural objects have spirituality. And so because there is some spiritual kind of influence to that deer, you're going to treat it with greater respect. A great quote here: when the last tree is cut down, the last river is poisoned, the last fish is caught, then only will man discover that he cannot eat money. Kind of leads us away from that idea of capitalism and that money is the king and the environment should suffer. When we talk about environmental worldviews, religion plays a role here. So Christianity, the quote I want to read to you says, "And God blessed them, and God said to them, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heavens, over every living thing that moves on earth." Think about our value systems. And then think about some of the words used in this quote. Fill the earth and subdue it. So man is again having its influence on earth. Have dominion over the fish of the sea and the birds of the heaven. So again, man is the center of this. Let's conflict that with Islam. The quote here is, if a Muslim plants a seedling or cultivates a field, whoever or whenever a bird, a human, or an animal eats of it, it will be counted as a charity for him. So by eating that bird, eating that seed, the environment is doing man a favor, is doing man a charity. And so instead of Christianity, where we're controlling the environment, in Islam, the environment is giving willingly to man. Buddhism is a little bit different. In Buddhism, every living thing is codependent. And so your survival is dependent on the tree's survival and the fish's survival. And that humans are not more important than any other living thing, that your life is not more valued than a cockroach's life. There is also the idea of reincarnation. And so obviously you want everything treated equally if you could come back in your next life as a cockroach. There are some key themes that I want to quickly go through. One of the key themes in environmental science is that humans and nature are intimately connected, that success for nature leads to success for humans, that we are dependent on the environment. John Muir, remember, grandfather of environmental science, his quote here is, when one tugs at a single thing in nature, he finds it attached to the rest of the world. A key theme is that humans alter their environment, right? We're sitting in houses that we built on the environment of other animals. We convert land from its natural state into urban, suburban, and agricultural areas. We change the chemistry of the air, the soil, and the water. And we need to realize that Gaia hypothesis, that Earth is more than just our home. It's a living system, and we're part of that living system. Key theme is human population growth. We have more than doubled the human population in the last 40 years. We're sitting above 7.4 billion. The map on this slide is the countries kind of scaled for population. As human populations increase, we have increased competition for limited resources. As we have increased competition, we start to see war. We start to see disease. We start to see increased environmental damage. And our last idea, key theme here, is that Earth does have a carrying capacity. We haven't reached it because we've been able to outthink that carrying capacity, and so we run out of space to build outward, so we build upward. We run out of space to grow our crops, so we start aquaponics. As to date, we have overthought carrying capacity, but we'll eventually reach it. Okay, that's where we end today. Make sure you guys take your notes. Make sure you answer your study guide questions. Yeah, at some point I'll stop it. All right, guys, this is me, the normal train wreck that I am. Have a great day.